Page 25 of the handout. Teaching children boundaries. I introduce consequences. So, one of the best ways to teach boundaries is to let kids have natural consequences. Natural, reality based. And I said, what is not a natural consequence, or what I'll call like psychological or relational consequences, nagging, guilt trips, abandonment, no affection, they don't teach a child to grow up and learn how reality works. What they learn is that I lose love, affection, care. So yelling, cussing, nagging, these are not healthy consequences. In my humble experience, it is one of the number one things parents do to get kids to do what they want. So what most parents want, immature parents want their children just to obey, not develop character. They're not the same things. If all you want is your children to obey, then you can use any tactic you want. You can be a bully, you can be horrible, you can be abusive, because the whole goal is to get you to submit. You didn't teach them anything besides you're a lunatic, you're immature. You taught your children to be scared of emotions, needs. Reality-based consequences teach them they affect reality. So here are some normal, natural, healthy things you should be doing. And basically, in a nutshell, every single normal consequences is you lose something. So in a nutshell, you think, I lose things. You don't lose affection. You don't lose care and love and things you need. You lose things you don't need, but there's some loss involved. So I'm like losing privileges. If you're disrespectful, you broke a rule. Well, you can't do that anymore. You used to. Now you can't for a time being. I really want this activity, but now you can't because that was the deal. When Hayden was very little, I don't know how old, he was very young, when he first started establishing his own little, not first started boundaries, because he's 3 years old, it was just quote unquote terrible threes where he pushed boundaries constantly. So he's about 3 years old, I guess it was. And he loved McDonald's, Happy Meals, like all good red-blooded Americans. And he got the chicken nuggets, and he loved them. And then one day he stopped eating them, like, nope. He eat the French fries, not the chicken, eat them, nope. Chicken, nope. I mean, I know it's just a power play. I don't want to eat them. He loved them, don't want to do it. I'll do what I want to do and do it. Well, the first time he did it, the second time, says nope, I know this is going to happen. He's testing boundaries, no big deal. He's testing us. I know what's going on, no big deal. But I'm not going to waste my money. So he's going to go to a birthday party with his friends. So we had a silver Xterra. I remember in Houston, a guy in Xterra, and he goes, you McDonald's? Yeah. I said, okay, we'll go. If you don't eat your chicken nuggets, we're not going to the birthday party. And Elaine literally went, literally, she sunk in a chair because she knew I meant it. And he goes, I said, I'm serious, son. And when she sunk, I'm telling you, if you don't eat the chicken nugget, we're not going. You go to McDonald's, go to the drive-thru, get the Happy Meal, here you go. He goes, nope. Drove straight back home. He cried and cried and cried and cried. Just eat the chicken nuggets, we'll go. He wouldn't do it. He cried and cried. From then on, he ate the chicken nuggets. See, we prefaced it. We warned him. That was the consequence. He didn't get hurt. Didn't say, I didn't call him names. We didn't yell at him. We didn't cuss at him. Didn't raise our voice. Here, all you have to do. Here's the terms of the contract. Not eat poison, a snake. That's it. He ate them for the rest of his life. To this day, he still eats. I'm kidding. If you broke something, I'm going on the list here. I'm not going to read all this. You can read stuff. If your work is horrible, another thing like missing opportunities for time management. If you can't manage your time well, and it's age appropriate, right? When they're little, they can't do that. But as soon as they get old enough to understand basic time management, that's the case. And Elaine taught me this. This is fantastic. It's fantastic. It helps children process the loss because everything's a big deal when you're a kid. If you go to the swimming pool, you don't say, let's go now. You don't just start screaming at them. You say, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. They don't know what a minute is, but that says I have time. It starts the process of it gives me a chance to bring to closure whatever the last trick I wanted to do, and almost without fail it works. When you go, okay, now it's time, they're like, oh, but they had a chance. It's the shock factor. That's that time management. And if they didn't do it, well, I want to go on the slide and say, but you could have, right? Because you had 3 minutes. And what you chose to do was over there and talk with so-and-so. You could have done that. I didn't yell, cuss, fuss, manipulate, condescend. I just say, right, see what you could have done with your time is, you're just teaching them, I'm responsible for what I do with my time, and you lost that opportunity, and that's your choice. I didn't make you do it. And I say, oh, you had plenty of time to do it. And there's all that you can see their faces. They kind of a loss like, ah. And I go, all right, we go. Well, next time around, that's reality. A little bit, okay, well, time management, time management. Going to school late, dirty clothes. Not when they're little. When they get older, and you're like, I'm telling you, I'm happy to do your laundry for you at this age. Eventually, I got to do it yourself, but I'll do your laundry for you. You just have to bring them to this one spot. That's it. That's it. From there to there. I don't have any clean clothes. Well, that's unfortunate. I don't know how it goes. Cleaning up a mess you made if you're tired. I'm hungry. I bet you are. You skipped all of dinner. But I want goldfish. I bet you do. I would too if I skipped food and want to eat snacks. But no, you had dinner. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things like that. So they're always age appropriate. They're always age appropriate. They arise from the parents' God-given roles, protector, manager, provider. They're not from frustration or revenge. You don't ever give consequences because you're just mad at them. No. If you're grounding them, I'll talk about that in a second, grounding. I need to say more about that next time, don't I? I do. Sure do, David. You're right. Thank you for that. I can't wait to hear it. Well, thank you. That's sweet. All right. Me too. I bet it's good. Oh, you're sweet. Okay, cool. So you don't do it because you're mad. You don't do it if you're mad. You either ideally thought about the consequences ahead of time, ideally, and next level is you thought about them and you told. So if this doesn't happen, just giving you a heads up, here's what will happen. Like any boundary, like with the spouse. Okay, gotcha. So if you smoke weed again, here's what I'm going to do. It's not a threat. I'm just telling you what's going to happen. That's all. Here's the next step. Well, if you do this, okay, here's what we're going to do. So consequences must be based on reality. They're not based, like I've said, I'm repeating myself because it's worth repeating over and over again. Yelling, cussing, nagging, abandonment, these aren't consequences. You're just being an immature child who's trying to get your child to comply with your rules. You're not teaching concept boundaries. You're not teaching reality. You'll raise a child who leaves the home and they can't wait to bust free from the prison of your home. Because all they realized was if I did this thing, mom or dad would yell at me or cut me off. And then you teach them that the world is dangerous, that when I have my own desires, I'll lose you. I'll get yelled or screamed about you. I'm in danger. There's a threat. I have firsthand knowledge of that awareness, and it changes you for life. You have to always help with a wounded child go, okay, they're not going to scream, they're not going to yell at me, they're not going to abandon me forever. If you do it well, your children do not develop that deep, panicky fear from a child that can be healed, but it stays there to a degree. You have to address that. So it's reality, it's based on God-given rules, and then it's age appropriate. The last thing here is empathy and follow-through is the ideal formula. So you model compassion, but you let them feel the loss. Empathy plus follow-through. Empathy plus follow-through. I know it's disappointing to miss the movie. I feel sad when I make bad choices too, but this is part of growing up. Not, well, I told you so. All you've done is establish you're the boss and they're a peon and they just deal with it. It is disappointing when you miss the birthday party. I remember on myself when I didn't do my chores and I lost, I was sad too. I bet you are sad that you're having to wear that dirty shirt again. I'd be disappointed too. I might be a little embarrassed myself. So I remember when I was a kid and I didn't do that. It is kind of sad when someone's you're relating, you're having empathy with them. You're helping a process. Yeah, it is disappointing. I'm not making fun of you. I'm not being sarcastic. It is sad. I remember myself. It normalizes that. Normalize in psychology means you demonstrate some behavior or feeling is normal. Therefore, it's okay and appropriate. You don't have shame with it. I'm sad. I'm disappointed. Disappointed with yourself. Like you forgot so-and-so or you worked hard and it failed. I remember being disappointed in myself. That happens. Or you regret things. Yep, that's normal. And we feel that and we talk about it and God forgive it. We confess it if it's a sin and then we move on. You normalize all this. That's healthy. So you empathize and follow through. If you suffer from bad follow-through-ism, there's a vitamin for that. I would develop it right now if I could. particularly for moms, because it tends to be the mom. If you have a real hard time with follow through, it's not because you're a dirty, rotten sinner. It probably means you are over identifying with their distressful emotional state. This is in psychology, it's called transference. It's when you take your own emotional baggage or issues or woundedness and you transfer or emotional feeling onto someone else. It's not projection, it's transference. What you're feeling, I've already said this back in week 1. I did, because parents tend to be rescuers. This is what happens. I'm over identifying. So when I see their sad face, when my son starts crying because he can't go to the birthday party because he won't eat chicken nuggets, and if I were to see him in the rearview mirror and he's just, and he's red and he's just crying, he's so legitimately sad. And I went, okay, never mind, let's go, let's baby, never mind. I remember when I was a kid, and I could go to birthday parties, and I failed the test. I can go, and I did say, I'm sorry you're sad, son. I'm sorry. And he's, I mean, he's 16, it's weird, but I said, son, I told you, he's like 3. I said, I'm sorry you're sad or something like that. I'm sorry. I was sad. I said that. I said, I was sad too, and I didn't do the thing or do. But you still have a chance. Like, no, he wouldn't do it. Okay. I'd be sad too. Does that make sense what I'm saying to you right now, at least? I'm going to pause in a second for more questions or comments. But does that make sense to you? Empathy and follow through. Reward-based consequences, John Townsend, the Christian psychologist, and Henry Cloud, they say this. I think this is good. When's a good time for parents to give rewards? I will shower blessing upon blessing. That's how Marcus says it. But reward, when is that a good time to do it? They say 2 things, 2 times in your child's life. 1, they learn a new skill that required effort and stuff, not like a skill because they just blinked, but play an instrument. Learn a new language, something that's brand new. You worked hard and you went above and beyond. You learned a new skill. 2, it's exceptional effort. You tried hard, not you beat everyone, not you were successful. You tried really, really hard. You're celebrating their character development. If you've heard me say that yet, I've said it 1,000 times in children. That's the whole goal of parenting. You are not celebrating just because they won a game. That didn't build their character at all. I was on basketball teams when I was a kid for a while, and they had this one guy who was I was in New Orleans. He was one of the pastor's kids, just a quiet, shy, nice, skinny white kid, and he could play ball. And the whole team just followed his coattails. So we won almost every game. Not because of me, though I do have a cool story about that. You want me to tell it? Drew wants to tell the story. Anyway, the point is, I'll tell you the story, though. It's Hollywood. I'm telling you, it's Hollywood. In my mind, it is. In my mind, it's flawless. But anyway, if my parents go, son, way to go, there's $100, you won, I'd go, wow. And I would have learned nothing. All I could do was some defense and say, I'll catch it and throw the ball to someone else. I mean, Lord Almighty. But how they see me work hard and practice, and I did practice, but how they said, David, you have worked your rear. I mean, I'm proud of you. You dug deep and it was struggle, and I just want to hear the extra pizza part, extra something. Way to go. You dug down deep. Okay, real quickly. This is so all about Jesus. It's not. I have to say that as an elder here. So there's a summer league, and the basketball is a basketball. This is New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary. And so during the summer, there's, 1 million children because all the parents, most of their dads are in school. My dad was at the time a student. So we did this little summer league, and we all signed up, and they divvied up people. I don't know how they did it. They did a good job, though. Each team had about 1 or 2 or 3 really good basketball players, so there wasn't a dominant. Each one had a little Michael Jordan. And our team went all the way to the semifinals, then to the finals, all the way. And again, I was good at moral support. I was nice. Way to go! That was a good shot. And I would dribble for a little bit, but my heart would just race if I got the ball, because they were just, they're charging at me. I played football a lot. I played basketball as a kid all the time, but in the professional world, it was just more, it felt so much more formal, like the NBA. And I was okay. I was taller. I could grab the ball. Anyway, so this last part, we're in the finals. And our top guy, I can't remember his name, another top guy, we had 2 guys that were real good. The top one was really good. And they were just getting back and forth. It was a close game. It was exciting. Well, we're in this court. If you've ever seen a normal court, it has a male adult size at the end, but they'll have it to where there are 4 facing this, you can cut it in half, the court in half, if that makes sense, a curtain. Then you have a short court. Well, we had a short court. There's two things here. Well, on one side of the court are bleachers, and it's packed with parents and friends and family. I mean, it's packed. For a smaller, it must have been 100 people packed on that thing on one side. So the whole time there was a shot, people, it was loud, it was real fun. So we go down the last bit. We're down to 60 seconds left, and we are 1 point below the other team. Is that close? Of course, and you can do a scoreboard. I have basic awareness of what's going on in a whole bit. So, and they're trying so bad to get our number one Michael Jordan guy, and he's just nailing. Well, they're like tag teaming him constantly. And I'm going, and at the last minute, and I mean the last few seconds, I'm near the front of the hoop because I'd wait for it to bounce off and I'd catch it and toss it to him or someone else. And he tossed it to me. And I went, I'm telling you, he's like, 3, 2, 1. And I did my usual typical, just what kids do. For some reason, I jumped backwards as usual. I got to lay up backwards. So I jumped, and when I did it and I shot it, this other kid barely hit my finger. And it didn't go in. And it goes, beep, the buzzer goes over. Now we're 1 point under, and it goes, foul, and it's my chance to shoot. So when this happens, this guy who was a student had to be at least 8 feet tall. I mean, he was tall and slender, and he leans down, and then all the basketball players go away. They all go behind me near the bleachers or close to it. So just me, and I'm telling you, I was, probably the 6 foot skinny little redhead, and this giant, he puts the ball, he goes, and I'm shaking, I'm nervous, what do I do? And just me in the court, and he goes, I'll never forget, he goes, he's a textbook non-anxious presence in psychology. He goes, and I'm staring at him like, what do I do? I was frozen. He goes, all you got to do is make one shot. That's it. And then the game continues. And I go, okay. So, and it got crickets. And you hear the thing creaking because people are, and I'm literally, my knees were shaking. And I went, swish, nothing but net. And it went, I turned around, I thought I'd won the Olympics. I was like, praise God. Well, what I didn't know, if I had scored one more shot, we'd have won the game, because now we're tied. And he was smiling, he goes, you did it. No more prayer, you did it. Now you have another shot if you want. And I go, okay. So I tried it, but it all close, it went off the rim. And we went to overtime, and we lost by a point. They ended up scoring one more time. No, I think we tied, the buzz went off, but there's my shot. I don't care about losing. I won that day, son. Lord, my knees were shaking. Well, my parents did not give me a reward for that. So that's the whole point of this story, is that they failed as parents on multiple. No, I'll say this last thing about consequences. No, two last things. I still feel the anxiety in my knees, like one shot, that's all you need. Parents, I put double asterisks on this part. I want you to read that with me, parents. Parents must have the courage to be disliked in the short term. You will be held accountable by God by how well you form the character, not by how much your children liked your healthy consequences. That helped me a lot when my kids might be pitching a fit. Mainly Hayden, not Joy. She never needed those, but because she's in the room. But you have to have the courage to be disliked. And I mean disliked. And they'll say all kinds of stuff to see if it works. I hate you. I'm not your friend. I don't like you anymore. We got that a few times. And I'd say, oh, no you don't. But I know you're sad and upset. That's okay to be upset. No, you don't hate me. Don't say that, because those are strong emotions. But I know you're upset. It's okay. You have the courage to be disliked, and they get over it. What about grounding? So consequences falls, I don't know if y'all say it anymore. When I was a kid, we call it get grounded. So it means you lose privileges or you lose something. So Lane and I did, but we talked about this. So when it came to grounding, we took grounding. So this middle page 25, all those little bullet points, that's an idea to me, a degree of being grounded a little bit. But a grounding is not just one event, it's maybe a term, like you get grounded for a weekend or a day or an afternoon. So what we did with grounding is, I had grounding in different levels. There's like a temporary thing grounded, which is you can't go to that birthday party. It's like saying you're grounded from going, but we didn't use the word grounded, but that's like a grounded. Where it became a temporal issue, that is, it was longer than just an event. Then I had basically two levels, basically. So it's grounding, and then I call it lockdown. We'd take them to jail. No, it's like that. But that's the way I pictured it, and they understood it. So grounding is when you lose something, you have to work in their currency, work in their, what do they value? Not what you value. What do they value? So grounding is when you work, they lose something they really value. And concrete or abstract, it might be toys to play with, it might be time with you in the room while you play a video game or something. Grounding is something they really value. And so that's something that stings, but not terrible. Lockdown is they lose all of their privileges, including playing outside. The only thing you do is stay in the room, and they can read, and that's it. The one is you just make levels, whatever your levels are, grounded. You don't, and this is a lot of parents fail miserably at. Everything's locked down. Everything's locked. You can feel that, that's it, and then everything's cold turkey, or the exact opposite, of course, which is there's no follow through. The goal is to have levels, appropriate levels to it. Like you go to court. You don't want me to go to jail because you stole a piece of gum. That's capital murder. You might do that for a lifetime, but not sticking. It matters. We humans get that. We're teaching our children, again, character. That's how the real world works, that it's in layers of consequence. And so if we got to lockdown, it was after they got grounded. It was like, if you do this, we would do it in stages. That the only time ever you went straight to lockdown, there were only 2 times, there were 2 things, 2 conditions in which you would skip all the levels and gradations and go straight, you lost everything. 2. One, it depends on their age level. For example, we did do some spanking when they were very little. It depends. So one is if they were in incredible danger or put someone else in danger. And that would be short term, went to sting. But the main thing, the other 2 major things is as if they were ever doing something that was violent. Like in our home, we were absolutely intolerant with physical violence. Intolerant. You couldn't hit, push, kick, bite, or you might even say spit. If you use your body to try to harm someone else, you went to lockdown. It didn't happen often because we used lockdown. It was a deal breaker. And then you have other things like, let's say, well, they can't cuss and scream and holler. Well, they didn't struggle with that much because we didn't. They didn't know. I mean, they heard movies sometimes, but in general, they didn't. That was lockdown. And we would tell them ahead of time, you don't do so-and-so, so-and-so, and if you do it again, you will go straight, you'll lose everything, you'll be in a room, and that's it. So the point is, but whatever you decide as parents, what you think the healthy level of gradation. I had a friend named Jason, one of my very best friends. He was a tall, lanky kid, skinny. He loved ice cream, but not eating ice cream like those. I probably still make it somewhere. If you go to, he used to give them at Kroger, his parents do, like a gallon. There's a plastic tub, the little handle on it. They still make this, so he'd rip off and just get a spoon. I mean, he'd eat half of it in front of the TV. And so when he got grounded from ice cream. Of course, we made fun of him, as all good friends do. You got grounded from ice cream? But as parent, boy, it stung. I can't eat ice cream for the whole weekend. I mean, it made him, that was it. But it was a good ground, like when he didn't do whatever, he lost some ice cream. Now his parents did other things, but I remember that reminded me. So at Hayden, it might have been, you can't play with the Transformers, or you can't, eventually had a little baby video game thing, and you can't play with that for the weekend, or something like that. Julie never got grounded, so I can't think hypothetically of what. I am kidding. No, the kids didn't get grounded much. But any questions or comments about that before I move on? Yes, sir.
What's an example of the dangerous first one you were talking about?
Oh, good example, dangerous. So when our kids were very little, if they got near the street, they used to like in diapers even. They got too close or nearby. We would say, no, pop. We just pop the bottom. So I'm not, again, all these consequences, they're never based on my emotional state. They're just the law of the land. Like cops don't pull over. I'm just mad. You get a ticket. You have to break a law. So I didn't say parents can't have emotional states. I hear parenting people say, don't ever spank or discipline while you're angry. I fundamentally disagree with that. That doesn't make any sense. Your emotional state's irrelevant to when it's happening. What is relevant to is whether or not you give the inactive punishment, the consequence. Consequences are not predicated upon how you feel. So when my kids would go to the street, I wasn't mad. I'd be a little scared. They're getting close to the street. But I said, no, pop. I want them to just go. I just want the shock effect for a second. To say, we don't go in the street. We don't in the street. That's it. And that was it. I didn't go, pop, 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 pop. I didn't do all that. It was the shock effect. That was really it. Or if they got near a fireplace. if they started playing with what it might be something like that, to say, no, no, no. They didn't happen much, frankly, so I'm trying to think of examples. But I remember saying that Elaine and I had made up our mind if it were that level. Oh, there was another one too. So Hayden, just very, very active, really, genuinely, like a wild horse, needed to be tamed for about 2 years. And I remember telling him, when he got older, I remember saying this, we both said, son, your willpower, your your willpower is so strong, it's going to be fantastic when you get it under control. You're going to be a fantastic leader. But right now, it means a lot of grounding. But later on, I'm telling. So I didn't want to squish his soul and his character. I'm like, you have these great traits, but we got to help it channel this in the right place. We talk that way often, even though he's 4, 5, 6 years old. But one of the things particularly he would do is if we go to the pool, he wants to wrestle with Julia all the time. He loves playing wrestle. Well, we noticed a couple times he'd play with, like, it's super funny to hold her under the water. Well, the first time we ever saw that, he had a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. I mean, a lot. He's like, I didn't know. He's thinking she could just kind of fight with him and get up. Basically, not like I'm going to kill her. He's a child. You don't know the difference. Well, the next time we go to the pool, on the way there, we had a long talk. Do not pull her on it, because she's 2.5 years younger. So by this time, she might be 4 or 5, and he's 6 or 7. So he's way more powerful and taller. And we had this long talk. Don't do. If you do it, you're going to be grounded. Well, before he got grounded right off the bat when he did it, he had to step out of the pool. Like, that wasn't so much lockdown. He lost it immediately. There was no negotiation. But once we prepared him for it, so if you do it, you won't do the pool for a blank amount of time, and you're going to be grounded. I mean, it's a big deal, because we really warned him after he had done it one time. We go to the pool next time, he did it again after all the talking. So I was nearby, and I had to look over, and I saw, he was like, ha, 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 and he's doing his arms like this. I look over like, where's Julia? And I realized, it's opaque in the water, and I realized what he's doing. And I said, Hayden! And I went and grabbed her, and I went, whoo, and I jerked out and set her on the thing, and she and the water's and the rage I felt. I had to take some deep breath. But Hayden, get out of the pool now. And then I said, son, and I got near him. He jumped out. The rage thought, I'm about to do CPR on my daughter. I mean, it was just like someone almost tried to kill my, she's a little kid. That was it. I didn't scream and holler. He went and sat down. He was mad, pouting. He was locked down. He got home. He was in grounded for a long time. We talked and talked. He never did it again, though, after that. I don't think he did. She's still here. He didn't. But that's an example where putting someone in danger, where I needed it for him to click. It's not just playing. You can kill her. And that's when it finally clicked. But again, little footnote, you never wait on your kids to comprehend the rule. You don't need them to comprehend it. You don't need their validation. You don't need them to go, that's very wise of you, Mom and Dad. It doesn't matter. You are the rule maker under God's authority. When it's healthy and age appropriate, they just have to obey the rules. So I didn't wait on my son. Now, Dad, let's think about this. What if she were to breathe? So sorry, those are quick examples. The danger didn't happen that often.
Quick question. So you give a consequence,
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about how they're disappointed, they have emotion. But at what point is they're not accepting that consequence in a timely and respectful manner? At what point does that then require a consequence?
Very good.
Are you just allowing them to deal with the original one, and you're gracious with that, and you stick with the one?
Yeah, I do. Good question. So what if your kids refuse your boundary, your consequence, like no, and they go, do you stick with the original consequence, or do you going to up the ante? I always up the ante, because now you've broken the second rule. And we warn them. If I tell you, Hayden's another example. Dad, what'd you do? They're telling person keep telling me I was so bad at church. Well, you were, no, kid. So timeout. He had a timeout stool. And Lane's right. She's perfectly right. Basically, it's roughly 1 minute of timeout for every age. Now, at 16 years old, 16 minutes doesn't cut it. So we try. No, so he's 1, 2, 3, it's about 1 minute. So Hayden will just sit down, he'd stand up. And he'd sit down, stand up. So we'd say, he'd look for us. Blah, blah, blah. And you're grounded, be quiet. We hear it, be quiet. If you say one more word, if I hear one more sound, if your rear end gets off of that one more time, you're going to be in the seat for 3 more minutes. He'd do it again, 3 more minutes. Now, and he'd go, no, do it again. It's 10 more minutes. It would be exponential every time. And it worked. It worked. But what makes that so demanding for the parent is it's exhausting. And you don't give negative attention. I told you to be quiet. But they're like, they're talking to me. I win. So when you get consequences, you are a stoic robot. Do that again, you lose 3 more minutes. 3 more minutes, okay, 3? You did it, that's 3 more. Now it's 9:17. Do it again, you get 20 minutes. Do you understand me? Nod. Good. That's it. I up it. And I would say it over, I would say, we told you. We told you. When they're real little, they don't remember much. They don't. Like a dog that says, don't do that, and they go right back to smell the food. That's just the way it is. But as parents, we know enough to go, you grasped that. You understood the rule, and you deliberately broke it. But I always up the ante. Because I told them, if you get up, that's my view. I think of so many examples. I don't dog hating all morning, but I'm thinking of so many examples of. Julie said, keep going, Dad. Let him have it. Let him have it. I remember when Hayden got grounded to the stool, then he got a little older. If your next level grounding, I said, you go to your room. And because Hayden was he loved us, and not that we abandoned him, but the grounding for him was just not to be in our presence. He just wanted to be around us all the time, which I'm fine, I love it. But that was the currency. All right, you lose our presence for 15 minutes. I mean, it wasn't a long time, but that would just, and he'd go to his room, blah, 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 just noisy, because I'm missing it. Then we would say, be quiet. And what he'd do is go to his room, and I hear, doom, doom, doom. We had a 2-story house. I hear him go up there. He'd come down the stairs, doom, doom, doom. And I would hear it. I'll go, Hayden, and get quiet. Go to your room. Doom, doom. And I'd come around the corner, and he'd go, doo, 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 doo. He would sit at the top of the stairs. I said, go to your room. And he would stare at me. I went on the stairs, he'd go, boom, boom. And when he got real feisty, if he got grounded, go to your room now, blah, blah, he'd go like stage 3. And when he saw me come in the corner, he'd go, no, no, no. And he'd run to his room. Because if I had him, we called like a come to Jesus talk. No, we call it a timeout talk. Is that what we call it? If we go to a restaurant, if he's going to do a certain thing, and if he gave a hard time, do you need to go to the restroom and have a timeout talk? No, because it meant there's always follow through. There's always follow through. We were driving one day. He learned how to take off a seatbelt. Click. Well, I couldn't reach it back then in that car, so we'd have to pull over. And man, by the second time I said, if you touch that one more time, you're going to be grounded, and whatever it was, he click. Well, that was the first time ever. Elaine had a brand new associate children's pastor at this former church. She was back there. I pull on the side of the interstate. I get out. I take him out of the car, put him against the side of the car. Boom. Son, if you touch, and Elaine goes, I can't believe you put him against the side of the car. I didn't slam him like a cop, but I held him up. Oh, Lord, boy, he didn't do it again. But I thought, he needs to see, not only his dad, but I said do not do it. I can't just say, don't, one more time. When I get there, I'm going to let you have it. No, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I don't care if, I used to tell him this. If we were meeting the King of England, if I were in line to meet Jesus and you disobey me, one second. They will get consequences because they were warned ahead of time, they knew the rules, and they broke it. And Jesus would agree with me. David get extra crown in heaven. You work so hard. I'm kidding. I can tell examples. In times we blew it, but because of time. All right. No question or comments about consequences. Anything about that? Responsibility. Children must be taught to reflect on how they may have contributed to a problem. Remember Matthew 7:5, Jesus says, take the log out of your own eye first. So if a child has, so for example, this is a great, I did a version of this from the book, from John Townsend's book. A friend at school is mean to me. What's the speck? Well, she's so hateful, the speck in her eye. What's the log? Did I say or do anything hurtful? You're just looking for it. Did I do anything at all hurtful that might cause her to call me those names? She shouldn't have called me those names, but did I contribute at all? I received a bad report card. Well, the teacher's just unfair or stupid. How are my study habits? Did I work hard? Did I look over the study sheet? I didn't get my full allowance. Well, my parents are so unfair. Did I finish all the chores I was assigned? My big brother beat me up. I have a bad brother. Did I provoke him or play the victim? All I'm saying is you're looking for any possible ways the child might have been contributed to the problem. Please, if you've been to my studies, you've heard me say this 1,000 times. I fundamentally disagree that two sides of every story. What I'm saying right now is it's a character trait to ask the question, did I contribute at all? The answer to the law question, how are my study habits? Fantastic. She was a bad teacher. That could be true. I was in school for 24 years. There's some bad teachers. But it's a character trait to go, is there anything I can say, I need to do better next time? And if there is, that's the child. You're trying to help them to live. That's it. You're trying to help them. That's responsibility. Is there anything you could have done differently? If you're in the car driving your children, they get upset, you go, well, let's think about it for a second. Is there anything at all the next time you might do differently or better? Anything? Let's just think about it. I didn't do it. Okay. Just to think for a second. Is there anything at all? They never play me on that team. Okay. And you can't control that. The coach, that's all the coach. But think about this for a second. When you're at practices, how hard do you practice? Does your coach see you practice? Does the coach see effort in you? That probably influences what happens, things like that. You just ask the question. Maybe the answer is no. But if it's yes, okay, well, let's work on that. Children believe that being uncomfortable is the same as being unable. This is hard, so I can't do it. Someone else should fix it. That's exactly what every child thinks. It's difficult, I can't do it. Loving parents, hard doesn't mean it's impossible. Keep trying. Don't give up. That's your responsibility to keep trying. This math is hard. Come do it. When Hayden was very little, and he got love Transformers. And every Transformer comes with this printout, a color printout of how to fold it and unfold it to get it transform. We was very little. He'd say, Dad, do it. I go, no, baby. No, Dad. I said, no, baby, you need to learn how to do it. See those pictures? There's not even no words. They're just pictures. And he's bright. And he goes, no, why? I said, baby, you got to learn. I'll help you a little bit, but then watch this. See this here? I would guide him through. I didn't say, get out of here. I explained, you can do this. Look at the picture. Because I'm not doing this when he's 12 years old. You got to learn. And he goes it over his mom, and she goes, okay, I'll do it. I'm like, But eventually she stopped, and he eventually learned how to do it on his own. Hard doesn't mean it's impossible. You can do that. Now, as a parent, not that we're not at all. I wasn't omniscient. I'm still not omniscient. But you trust your gut enough to go, I think at your competence level, intellectual capacity, you could do that or not. I find that most parents tend to undersell their kids. They think they're not competent more than they actually are competent. They really are more competent than you think, because really what's happening in the moment is you're trying to avoid the distressing feelings of the disappointment. If you think your child can master it immediately, then I'll give it to him. Otherwise, it's going to be tough on him. So what? You're crippling your children. If you think every time something's difficult and you rescue them, what are they going to do in the real world? Well, they have a mean boss and bills to pay. And no one gives a rip in the real world where you think it's hard. They don't care. Secret of life, no one cares. And if you teach them all your life that mom and dad do care, and that every time I'm distressed, I rescue, you're teaching that character flaw. We don't want that into the real world. So, children must be taught it is always okay to ask for help when something is completely outside their ability. Yes, we teach kids it's okay to be needy. Children need to learn which burdens are theirs to carry and when to reach out for trusted support, like in Galatians 6:2 and 5, remember? So you carry your own cargo, is the Greek word cargo, and you help someone else's burden. So in 6:2, it's you help carry their burden, Galatians 6:5, but everyone has their own cargo to carry. So if it's way beyond your burden, you do ask for help. For example, a child can't figure out a difficult math problem after trying, so they're encouraged to ask a teacher, a parent for help, rather than giving up or cheating. You worked hard. I see that you worked hard. Now let me help you. You worked hard. My son, many times he'd come to me and say, Dad, and I could see he'd fold it, and he goes, I can't get so-and-so. Then I helped. Every time, because I saw 50, 60, 70% done. And this part, I go, yeah, that's kind of funny. He's a Todd, I'd mess with it. Here you go. Completely appropriate. Or if he's in school, I've tried, I see my math work, I'm stuck. That's exactly son and our daughter in class, raise your hand, say, I've gotten this far. You don't look at the math problem and go, what is the answer? Or let's just cheat. You try your best. A middle schooler is overwhelmed by friend drama, doesn't know how to handle it emotionally. So a parent invites him to talk out rather than bottling up or lashing out or going to Instagram or cutting yourself or vomiting or drinking or smoking weed. You talk about it. Let's talk about that drama. Sometimes it's overwhelming when they're a child, not to mention hormones is difficult. My daughter went through an enormous amount of drama of one person in particular, but she ended up, I did suspect, but she has a serious disorder, and it was manifesting itself in young childhood. So it caused enormous distress on my daughter. So we talked and talked. She cried and cried and cried, but I didn't go, just deal with it. right? We talk, and their mama talked, and not just me. I'm just the one teaching here, but Lane talked. A child can't lift a heavy object. They can't open up a sealed container. The parent doesn't throw a tantrum or say, shut up, get over, you're weak. They go, I'll help you. And the kid doesn't go, and they don't throw the bottle of ketchup across the room. You say, baby, come ask for help. A teenager is anxious about a presentation. Well, you practice it. Let's practice it. I've done that with a kid. Well, there's an audition. Julia, particularly, many times, just do it right here. She pulls out the soundtrack, she starts singing. Turn off everything. All right, let's do this. I don't go, just go deal with it. You go, no, this is what we're here for. On that, it's helpful to have a guy who's a music major as a dad, but it's nevertheless, even if not, you might go, here are my feedback. You're safe. You're safe. A child's afraid of falling asleep during a storm. You teach them to self-soothe. Here's some breathing exercises. Here's what we do. It's really, really scary, isn't it? No, you can't sleep with us all the time. No, you can't do that because you're okay. You're safe. No, you're okay. But I'll tell you what, tonight, but later on, we're going to talk about breathing exercises and what we're going to do. But you're not going to sleep in our bed until you're 18 years old because you're afraid of thunder. A student gets chores and on and on. You can read this stuff. A child makes a big mistake, like they broke something expensive or they lied. But they don't hide it. Instead, they bring it to light. They ask how this happened, how you can work next time to get better. Don't do that again. The parents say, so let's think about this. Before you go, you should never lie, and you're cussing at them, you go, yeah, you did. Yeah, and I really, really, really hate being lied to. But first, let's explore this. What were you thinking before you lied? Let's think about that for a little bit. You're safe. What did you feel before you did it? Let's figure out, because I guarantee you, unless they're just literally a psychopath, sociopath, or maybe they become, before they turn into a pathological liar, parents jump in there. And I know kids right now who are pathological liars. I know them. Elaine, Hayden, Julia, they play with kids and come back and go, I like so-and-so, but he lied a lot. But he's 6. And so what they're doing, usually is outside of real disorders, is they're just avoiding negative consequences. So they learn the habit of just lying and lying and lying and lying. So as a parent, you come along before they just get all grounded, but they will get grounded. You're trying to do some therapy work with it. Tell me, understand what's going on. Before you do that, what are you afraid might happen if you told us the truth? Will you be mad at me? Well, I might be mad, but anger's okay. People get mad. How would you feel if someone lied to your face, son? Would you like it? Well, no. Well, that's the same with me. I'm just a grown-up. No one likes being lied to. We feel betrayed. We lose trust. And trust is like a bank account, like a piggy bank if you have that in the room. And it depletes all the trust as if they're coins. You have to refill it. Trust is a really big thing. So let's talk about that. I want you to be sure, if you're afraid of getting in trouble, well, you might get in trouble. You have my word. You will always get in way more trouble if I found out you lied to me. And they'll go, oh, really? Or giggle. I'm telling you, if you break that pot and then you lied about it and then I find out you lied about it, I guarantee you, me and your mom will dream of ways to ground you worse. Understand? Okay, good. So tell us the truth from now on. The consequences will always be better for you if you just tell us the truth. We've said these kind of things. You're not rewarding lying. If you find out, if you suspect it, watch their body language. They're being shifty. Their eyes, they're going to break eye contact from you. They're going to start, well, you're lying. Oh, I said, I feel like you're lying to me right now. Well, he what? Just say it. See, when you tell the truth, you're direct. When you're lying, something else happens. So you don't do that. You don't reward that. Anyway, so this example of responsibility. You ask the question, is there anything I've done? 2, of course, is 2, it's okay to be uncomfortable. Doesn't mean you can't do it. And 3, sometimes you're uncomfortable and you're incompetent. Incompetent in Latin just means incapable. That's all incompetent means. I'm incapable of doing it. So if you're incapable to do it and you really are incapable, then you reach out for help. You get in need. I know many adults right now who never did the last one. They won't go see a therapist. That's for other people. But they can't sleep at night. They're alcoholics. They're rage addicts. Buy everything on Amazon that's ever existed. But they're fine. They're fine. There's no inner storm. They were never taught that if something's beyond my ability, I get help. And that's okay. That's okay to do that. Any questions or comments about that? Write you a script? Well, let's do it. Sometime, seriously. I need you to write me a script. I know there's some in here, but I need something pocket size I can just read. Yeah, good. Well, I would encourage you, just whatever it's worth. just like I did. I reread it and reread it and reread it. So this what I'm doing now is kind of a summary of numerous books I've read on the subject and reread them because I was not taught this, not in my childhood. I mean a little bit, but not really. But I learned from experts to over and over and over and over and over, and then practice it over and over, and then get so it takes time. But it is the rereading. Okay, oh that's right, that makes sense to me.
Hey, David, how did we get to the point where it seems like a lot of parents, when anytime their child becomes kind of in the spotlight for maybe doing something wrong, the parent seems to look for, somebody else to be at fault, whether it's a teacher or, another student or something. How did we get to that?
So how do we get to the place where when our kids have done something wrong, the parents tend to want to blame someone else?
I think it was in our parents' generation.
Oh, and I don't think it was in our parents' generation. Yeah, based on documentaries and talking to older folk like than me, it seems to have been quite different back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Where in general, I would say is I think something really, really, really changed around the 80s. I mean, there's I'm not just thinking this. There's data that demonstrates this. Around the 1980s, late 70s, early 80s was the first time, I said this last time, in the history of American culture where certain things happened in the American home. And one was that more wives and moms for the history of American history ever had started working outside the home. That was a big difference. But that doesn't cause, I'm saying things change. But one thing, a big change was there was a big push in child psychology and psychological circles and in school boards and educational systems. And that was something they called the increasing self-esteem. And so self-esteem became the catchword for about 10 years or so. We increased our kids' self-esteem. And so they did that, of course. Well, they did that, which then, of course, people started poo-pooing on the idea, like, they just think they're all that. There's some healthy parts of that, but one of the downfalls of that, when it's not done from a healthy therapeutic stance, is to say, one of the ways we increase children's self-esteem is we remove distressing emotional states, which means they can't be to blame, because that feels badly. So I have to blame someone else. So what they should have been teaching kids is another psychological term that has been used now the last few years, has taken its rounds, becoming real popular, and it should, and that is resilience, not fragility. So now we have a whole generation of fragile little babies who are offended at everything, and they've not learned to be resilient, but fragile. And that's because it's not their fault. My distressing emotions are not my responsibility. They're your responsibility. I got to control you, not me. It's bad parenting. But I think it's, again, undergirded by a false psychological belief that I can't handle it, so you got to change your ways. So I think it's what parents think they're doing a good thing. I don't want them to be hurt. Isn't that good of me? Parents don't want their children to have distressing emotions. The answer is, well, yes and no, depends on how they just, All right, next week, come back. We'll finish that up. See you next week.